Hi there, my name is Frederik. I'm the owner of Rombachs Glass, and I will be running you guys through what we do in my studio. It's public access waste glass studio, and I'll also be talking a little bit about the project Keep Turning, which deals with young immigrants and how the immigrants are learning how to speak Dutch as well as learning glass techniques to express themselves in as many different ways as they can. So the studio opened on December 14th in 2018. It's been running for roughly 1.5 years now. We do our best as much as we can to get as many people in as we can by hosting second Sundays. It's something that we do every second Sunday. Just getting people in and watching us demo, make stuff. Usually we do a small demo, and afterwards we invite people onto the floor and show them what the furnace is, and just generally explain as much as we can, and also get people interested in taking our courses. So the courses that we do are twice a week glass blowing, where we invite 4 people in to come and learn how to work with glass. So they get to make paperweight, and they also get to make like a blown object, which is really nice. They pick it up the next day, and then well, that's that afterwards. Another thing that we've just started up, James Lethbridge is the teacher of that, is flameworking classes with waste glass. So that's 3 to 5 people coming in twice a week, just pretty much free learning, getting to know the material. And James made some very adequate examples of the jewelry that can be made with waste glass. And it's turning out to be quite a nice thing. It's not as hard as we expected, so there's a lot of things that we can still learn there, but it's fun and we're getting there. Another workshop that we also offer is the painting on glass workshop. So Denita teaches that. She is from Bulgaria. She's one of the language students in the Keep Turning program. She's been with us the longest, and she's at the point now where she found the thing that she loves to do, and she's starting to pass that on to people from around here. And she's doing it in English and Dutch, sometimes a little bit more English than Dutch, but it's a long road to travel. She's getting there. The last thing that we've started up is casting with waste glass. It's interesting. It's not as easy as many of you may know. Waste glass is a very short glass, so well, we're still figuring things out, but figuring out with people and giving them the choice to make something is really fun. Another way to gain income is events. So we do team building events where we get people in, and I usually get them to bring me a bit of glass that they color on their own, and then we add that all into a big blob and gather some glass over that and turn it into a number of vases, which the people can then take back to their companies and enjoy. And the last thing that we're working on now are the advanced classes. So people that have taken the preliminary workshops, they can jump in for a weekend or for a 10-week course, and they can just really get into it, which is quite nice. They're learning a lot there. We also go outdoors, so leaving the studio to do programs with kids where they make fused glass panels, and we take those panels, naturally fuse them in the studio, and sometimes we put them into these frameworks, and they get given back to the organization that hired us so that they can hang that somewhere that they enjoy seeing it. We also get kids in, really fun to do. We take a class at a time. They're there for about 2 hours. It's quite interactive. We usually get the kids to explain what they're seeing, and sometimes we get them to jump in. We especially just like having this thing where the kids are around and they become inspired by what we do, and that's what we try to do most of the time. As many of you may know, working with kids is really fun. So it kind of sparked the idea for the Keep Turning project that it was feasible. So we'll get to that later. What we also do to make money and of course to learn is sculptures and lighting fixtures, functional projects. We've done a grappa project, which is actually still running. It's kind of like a make-on-order thing. This guy makes his own grappa here in Belgium, and yeah, whenever he sells 100 of his bottles, then he comes to us again and says, look, make some more. So that's a really nice client to have. We do glasses for restaurants. Yeah, again, same thing. We don't have anything on stock. We make it when people ask it. It kind of ties into the sustainability goals that we have with the studio. Water for Life as well. It's an organization that makes water wells in dry areas of the world, and the donations that are given are sometimes quite large, and then those people get a gift. So making some glasses and vases as well, again on order, and lighting fixtures, same thing. This is for a company in Brussels, so it's quite nice that those people also just keep coming to us. The sculptures, they relate to a large extent to consumerism. It's something that I'm doing on my own. I think it's more to figure out what I'm doing and the directions to take, if anything like that. I'm just convinced that the way that we are working, living, and the level of consumerism in our world is, to say the least, obese. And, I'm just trying to find ways to express that as best I can. I work with a decal technique, so I try to infuse images into the work that I'm making, be it either from text like Twitter or social media links or something like that, to just images that I find online and that I use. Yeah, the sculpting is always the best way to learn. I find it fascinating, and I've had the opportunity to also work in Ghent Glass for 5 years and learn a lot of skills there, which is really nice. So that's it for the introduction to the studio. Yeah, the next thing I would like to tell you guys a little bit about is the things that I've been doing before the public access studio started. A lot of that had to do with social artistic projects, outreach work, very few works that are quite interesting and maybe a little bit relevant towards where we're going now. The Tying Together project is something that I set up when I came to live in Antwerp, which is about 8 years ago. It started off quite small. Antwerp counts about 12 districts, so different living areas, and I started off in one. And it was pretty much bringing tiles to kids that were living in gray areas of the city, and just pretty much giving them the choice to make something, and I would fill that in and make sure that everything was technically sound and that it would stay in one piece afterwards. So we did that project for, I think, roughly 5 years. We did about 2 different objects per year, working in different locations. So there were a lot of kids. I think I counted it out at some point, and it's about 3,000 kids that I work with. It was quite strange because they're in the different areas of Antwerp. I made one project there, and then I would move on to the next project a year later maybe, and some of the kids, they also moved. And I would usually ask like, hey, who knows the project, who's seen it? And it's like, yeah, I've already actually done that. So some kids have actually been participants in numerous projects across the city, which it's good. These kids, they have a chance to actually make something with a little bit of color, and they get to be proud. They would bring their parents out to see what they'd done, and a lot of selfies being taken and all that, which is, I think, really special. It's not so much about how it looks. That didn't really matter to me that much. What did matter though was that people got the opportunity, and especially young people got the opportunity to express themselves and to just go wild. They would ask me what are the rules, and I would say there are none. You just have to stick it on and make something that you enjoy, and then we'll find a way to make it look a little bit plausible once you're done. The tiling project, I think, was one of the things that I stayed on the longest. Doing that for 5 years was a big thing for me. But still, the glass was always there on the sidelines. Another project that I was doing was summer camps. So what we did was we made an architectural installation, which is kind of like a framework, and kids came in, they made tiles, and we put those tiles into this architectural framework during a period of 2 weeks. And afterwards, once that was done, once the summer camp was finished, the kids got to pick it up and take their piece home. One other project that was also running simultaneous to the tiling project was a project in Roeselare in Belgium, where kids that had been put out of their homes due to family problems, they were living in these houses, and I got to work with them to make different bowls and other objects, and we took pictures of them, and we added those pictures into these stained glass windows, and yeah, the bowls actually got sold at the end of the day, and the stained glass windows are still in the library. The windows are roughly 4.5 meters tall, so it was an interesting project to do. It lasted about a year. It was nice to do a long-term project, so really cool. Yeah, now that I've told you guys a little bit about the past, things I've been doing, and the stuff that we're doing at the studio now, it kind of comes to the point where everything has to come together. And I'm hoping that the things that I've learned in the past and the way that I've worked with all these kids throughout the years and the things that we're setting up now, especially with the Waste Glass and the different programs that we're trying to offer, it's kind of like the idea that it all should come together. So it's a slow process. Few students, we're trying to keep it very concentrated because truthfully there's still a lot to learn. So we're just going to follow that path as best we can. And we're just going to try to bring things together and hopefully learn as much as we can along the way. So I'm going to give you guys a few examples of how we've been working up to now, especially that has to do with communicating with the kids and finding ways that the kids can express themselves and at the same time take small steps in learning different glass techniques. Well, we started off with one of the basic things that we always did every time the kids came in was a writing session. So they had like 5 to 10 minutes to write what they did that day or something that they wanted to do that day. And sometimes they didn't have any idea what to do. Then I would say, hey, where are you from? And we would start a conversation, and usually it would be about what the flag is like, what their country looks like, stuff like that. We just tried to get them to express as much as they could and to also just start feeling comfortable walking around the studio and doing things. We noticed immediately that working with plate glass gave them the opportunity to write things down, which is good. It's something that could give them a chance to not necessarily work with the technique immediately, but to start off with something that they could get a basic grip of. The writing helped them out a lot. In the first few weeks, they didn't write that much, but as time progressed, they started writing more and more. Another big thing was that they actually had to read out what they'd written, and we would talk about that a lot, and we would try to get that into the works that they were making. For instance, like a mountain with a sun, which in this project signified Morocco. So the kids, they had their time, they would spend roughly 2 hours in the studio, and there were talking sessions and there were making sessions. You guys might not be able to read this, but what we also did was vocabulary sessions. So what are we doing? What are we using? Writing in words, also writing in their own words. We're trying to find ways to let the kids express what they were feeling, also in their own language, just to not be scared of making mistakes. So here's an example. En? Aha. En wat ga je daarna doen? Rollen? Ja. Setup, wat is ze aan het doen?
Ze is aan het draaien. Probeer een goede vorm met een goede werk te maken.
Heel goed, veel woorden, ja, heel mooi. Wat voor vorm Een beetje opzij. Kom maar hier staan. Welke vorm?
Dat is toch een cirkel in Belgium.
Ja.
Dus je gaat draaien
Ja.
om een zo'n cilindervorm te krijgen.
Heel goed, heel goed. Ja, ja, ja. Dat is mooi. En wat gaat ze nu doen?
Je gaat terug warm
Opwarmen.
maken.
Waarom moet ze het warm maken?
Want nu is het koud, dus dat kan je zo warm maken als het dat koud is.
Ja, dus het moet altijd heel heet zijn, hè?
Ja.
Ja. Oké, heel goed. What you just heard was a lot of drilling going on. So what we were doing was drilling the girls, what they were doing, a lot of repetition, who's turning, what's turning, how are you turning, is it fast, is it slow, is it big, is it small? Just trying to help them to do something, but at the same time, getting them to speak and say what they're doing as well. We did that very, very often.
Ik ben naar Groenpraat geweest en daarna ben ik met mijn andere collega's naar de politiekantoor geweest. Ik heb een beetje dingen bij de politiekantoor gestudeerd.
En wat bedoel je daarmee? Wat bedoel je, gestudeerd? Of geleerd?
Ik geleerd elke politie heb wat hij al zei gedaan. Hij doet in de politiekantoor.
Ja, dus deze doet dit
Ja,
en die persoon doet dat.
Ja.
Ah ja, dus dat heb je geleerd,
Ja.
wat zij doen. Oké. Ik heb een beetje dingen over de politiekantoor geleerd. What I was doing here was asking Godfred to explain an activity that he went to during the day. And while I was doing that, I was trying to pull out the words. Working with people that have a very small vocabulary is sometimes difficult just because I really don't understand what they're saying. So a big part of it was also just trying to understand what's going on. And by doing it in Dutch, things progressed. Zie je.
Ik zit in bal en op de bal een schorpioen. En de bal heeft twee kleuren, rood en blauw. En de bal heeft twee...
Ja, goed. En de bal?
Eerst...
Schorpioen.
Schorpioen heeft geel kleur.
Ja.
En in de hand is wit.
Ja, de klauwen. Ja. Alleen de hand?
De hand ook.
Zijn staart.
Ja,
Ja, heel goed. Ja, zijn staart. Ja.
De bal is groot van de schorpioen.
Even groot. Of is die kleiner? Of groter?
Schorpioen
Mhm.
is groot, maar
Groot.
bal is groot.
Bal is ook groot. Ja. En kan je door de schorpioen heen kijken? Of door de bal heen kijken? Net zoals het raam, kan je door het...
De bal, ja, in de rood, ja, kan. Maar de blauw, nee. De schorpioen ook, nee, kan niet.
Heel goed. Heel goed.
Dank je.
Leuk. I think this was one of the best exercises that we found. We walked around the studio and we picked up an object and then we started to describe that object. So they'll be writing down of what colors it is, how does it look, and the big and the small things. But it was especially looking at a sculpture and trying to describe what you see. And seeing as that there were so many different sculptures lying around the studio was a really interesting exercise. And you could tell as time progressed that in the first month they were having difficulty describing these things, and once they got into the second or the third month, things really did change because now they could describe what they were seeing in a very different way. So it was a really cool exercise to do.
En met de schaduw.
The studio pretty much it sums it up in the last thing that you're seeing here. It's repetition, repetition, and repetition. Finding new ways in that repetition to see how the kids can express themselves, and taking that further. You know, what are we going to do with all these works? We're at a point now where it's an idea to start turning them into larger three-dimensional objects, and just seeing where we go from that. Finding ways to take the things that they've made and to express the story of what we're doing in a different way, you know, and just to get that out there. So that's the thing that's going to happen for the coming year. We are going to keep going along this line as best we can during the circumstances, and just try to make things that can express the story that we want to tell.
Okay, well, that's it. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the story. It was fun for me to do. It's a virtual conference thing. Looking into a camera and actually trying to find a lens is not one of the things that I'm very good at, so I hope you guys will forgive me for that. I would like to thank Gas for giving me the opportunity to try this out. I think it's interesting. I'm curious to see where it's going to go in the future, if we're going to have to do more of these and hopefully get better at them. Another set of people I would like to thank, the Blikfabriek. That's this big institution that is running the area, the site that I'm working on. They're very generous in the way they let me hang out here and do my thing. Nice, the Ocon school that supplies the kids, so to speak. It's really cool that they're working together with me. And that they see the value of the project. The district Hoboken, that's the area of Antwerp where I'm situated. They've financially supported some of this project to start off, as well as Famous, VZW, and they've also been a good and great support up to now. So let's hope that continues in the future. And I hope to see you guys live maybe next year, who knows, or sometime. You're always welcome in the studio. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. I forgot a few things. First of all, I need to thank James and Denitsa and Liz. They work in the studio. Liz and Denitsa were the first two language students that came in, and yeah, they're still there. So I hope they know that it's really cool that they are a part of this, and that they are still hopefully going to continue. I believe they are. James as well, he's always there for the demos, the events, he's doing a lot of the workshops. It's awesome. You know, actually I thought I'd do a little informal thingy towards the end of the presentation, because, you know, that's the part that we're missing now. You know, it's, yeah, we can't be at the conference and we can't go hang out and have a drink and do this informal thingy that, you know, that we usually, well, not usually, I've never been to a gas conference, but in other conferences, that's usually what happens. You know, you hang out and you have a drink. Just another small thing as well, or small thing, what we've actually done, maybe that wasn't clear, the school, the Ocon school, that's like a go-between for immigrants coming into the country, young immigrants before they step into standard education. So this go-between school, so to speak, I've set up a collaboration with them, and we are going to take 12 students on a yearly basis, one academic year, and they're going to jump in the studio once a week for about 2.5 hours. So we are going to actually progress now from the 8 to 9 people that we had on a fluctuating basis and go into a strict regime of 12 on the set time, and having 2 or 3 volunteers jump in and work with us. Yeah, as always, the money, you know, how do we pay for this? There was funding initially to do the test project, so that was really cool. But, you know, going into it now, there are a few programs that I've submitted to. I don't know if I'm going to get that. It's up in the air, especially now with COVID. It's even more up in the air. You know, the social distancing things have become a little bit precarious, but still, we're going to keep going on it anyway. And as you guys may have seen, the events that we're doing, the workshops, all those things, they generate income. And the way that I've set it up is that I have a foundation and I have a company, so limited company. So what we're trying to do now is take the profits from the company, the commercial side of what we're doing, and funnel that into the foundation. I mean, it's, of course, it's on the edge, but I think it is the best way to go, especially now in the coming years where funding, especially European grant funding, it's going to be very, very difficult to access funding. And at the end of the day, you want to make your work, you want to do what you have to do. And especially now with this outreach program, I think in COVID as well, I realized the importance of it. It's even worse now than I think it was before that, or at least it's so much more visible. Domestic violence has increased immensely in the last few months. So these kids that don't have anything, they need a place to go to. So I've kind of come to the decision that money or no, this is going to happen. And I'm just going to start working at it, and I'm going to keep working on it. We're setting up a donation program. That's something that we're going to implement this year. People can, it's kind of like a patron site. They can set up, pay a certain amount of money per month, and hopefully they'll start covering some of the costs. And the other costs, either these funding grants that I've applied for will pay for them, or I will pay for them. It's just the way it's going to be. It's it's like, as an artist, you invest your time in what you want to do. I think every artist with every medium and every direction they take, they don't get paid to figure all these things out, and I'm feeling it the same way. I think it's still a winning situation for me. You get to find the inspiration with these kids and really push that forward. Take what they've made and actually transform that into something that might express their story a little bit better. It's for me, it's opening up a whole different way of looking at that work, at what I do. An outreach artist, if you want to give it a name. I think it's a really fun direction to take, and compare that to just to making work, the things that I've done in the past, where you work on consumerism and hypocrisy. I mean, it's all true. There's nothing in there that shouldn't be talked about. But this is something I've been doing for years. I've worked with thousands of kids in different areas of the city, and also outside. And to be able to bring that together now and say, okay, look, this is just going to happen. We are going to start working with these kids, and we are going to start making sculptures that express what they do and express what this program does. I mean, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to stick to it, and hopefully during the year, and in the years to come, we'll see where it's going to go, and just have fun with it. It's a pity we can't see each other live and talk about the different things that are happening and what everybody's doing. Hopefully that will change. All right, now I'm really done. Thank you.